to the Red Ride podcast. My name is Peter.
My name is Dan.
So, but the day of the Lord, Dan.
Yeah.
The day of the Lord, that's the day that God comes in and makes things right. And God just loves getting involved. And that day can be good news or bad news, depending on where you stand. If you are on God's side, it's good news for you, the day of the Lord. If you're not, it's bad news. And Obadiah begins with a message aimed first at one nation, and that's Edom. But as the book progresses, the message ends with the message reaching every nation. So what starts small becomes global. So my question to all of us is, who was Obadiah? Interestingly, we know almost nothing about Obadiah himself. There is no background story about him. There's no personal details. All we are told is his name. And his name means servant of Yahweh.
It's a good name.
It is.
Call your child Obadiah.
I agree. I think, Dan, you should lead the way.
Give it a year or two, Pete. Give it a year or two.
Okay. I'll remind you. And that's all we know. We know that his name is servant of Yahweh, but we also know that God gave him a vision. And sometimes it is enough just to know that about someone in the Bible. Because particularly for Obadiah, the focus of this book is not on the messenger, but it's on the message. So based on what he describes and what if you look at the what's happening in the book, Obadiah likely wrote this during the time when Babylon invaded Jerusalem and took Judah into exile. Always bearing in mind that Judah is part of the people of Israel. This invasion did not happen once. It happened over several years in stages. And some scholars debate that Obadiah may not have written it around that period. There might have been another period. But the Babylonian period fits the evidence best. So that would have been around the time of people like Daniel in the story of the Bible. If you are familiar with the Bible, Daniel would have probably have read Obadiah's letter.
That's so crazy, hey?
It's amazing.
You think about other biblical characters reading past biblical events and prophetic words and visions and all of these things, drawing inspiration from that and their time with God, and then speaking into the lives of their present time and their now, and allowing what God has done is speaking to dictate how they speak and interact with the kings and the queens and the people groups and whatnot. I find that fascinating.
No, I love that. I mean, maybe let me give you some of the people that would have been contemporaries, or when I say contemporaries, people who would have been alive around the period that Obadiah was written. So Jeremiah, you know Jeremiah in the Bible. Jeremiah did not go into exile, but he would have seen the devastation that happened. And he was one of the prophets that didn't go into exile. Ezekiel, though, went into exile, and he is also would have been around that period. So Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Daniel, Obadiah, they would have all have been alive. In fact, the writing of Obadiah is so similar to Jeremiah chapter 49, verses 7 to 22. Ezekiel as well is prophesying to the nations in Ezekiel 25, and one of the prophecies is against Edom. This in Psalm 137, when Israel is mourning what's happening with the exile and stuff, Edom is mentioned. There's a complaint against Edom. You can go and read it. And that's very fascinating. I find that very interesting because it highlights that God was speaking. These were not isolated. Obadiah is like writing on his own there, and it's like left field. It was something that it was a shared thing that all the prophets were speaking into at that moment, which is quite significant.
That is very significant, yeah.
So let's look at Judah and Edom, unless you have something you
No,
want to
that's
say.
perfect. That's great.
So Judah and Edom, or Judah is part of the people of Israel, so let's rather look at Israel and Edom. The vision we know is about Edom, as I've mentioned, but Edom the nation of Edom came from Esau. Edom means red, and Israel, the people of Israel and the people of Judah came from Jacob. And for those of you who do not know, Esau and Jacob were twin brothers. So over time, their families became nations, and what we are reading about in Obadiah is not just politics or warfare. It is a family conflict that lasted for generations. It actually started while they were in their mother's womb, because their mother was having these, maybe today we call them contractions or something. I don't know what it is. And God says, well, there are two nations fighting in the womb, And as the mom is giving birth, the one child grabs the other in the heel
as they're coming out.
Yeah. So they call him Jacob, which is the heel grabber, which is interesting.
Imagine. That's your name because that was the first action you ever did.
Yeah. And then what happens? Jacob, along with his mother, they steal or when they say steal, they basically deceive their father and take Esau's
the blessing for the firstborn, which was Esau.
Yeah.
And the whole story just goes crazy and
then Esau is upset. He wants to kill his brother, and Jacob ends up running away. And throughout history, there's been conflict between Esau and Edom. In fact, if you go and look historically...
you mean between Esau and Jacob, Edom and Israel?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you for clarifying. And throughout history, even outside of biblical history, you can go and read and see that Edom and Israel were contending over a strategic road. I can't remember what that road is, but it was a strategic road because the people would pass through that road for trading and everything. It's like a trade route. And what was fascinating is that whoever had that route could charge tolls.
Sure.
So even
that's where the money's at.
Literally, and so that's them. The conflict for as long as Edom has been around, because Edom doesn't exist anymore. In fact, Herod the Great is an Edomite.
Seriously?
He is, yeah.
No way.
So there's a whole historical thing about how the Edomites moved into a region near or around Israel, and they were sort of like assimilated into the nation. That's how they end up disappearing.
Sure.
So yeah, so you can go and read up about it, but we don't have time for that in this podcast. But I hope that it tickles your appetite. So this conflict lasted for generations. Babylon attacked Jerusalem around that period of time that this book was written, and Edom was close enough to see what was happening. They were not distant observers to this. The question is, how did they respond? Well, they did not help. That's what we do know. Neither did they mourn. Instead, they took pleasure in what they saw. And if you read the text tells us that they rejoiced. And there was an outward celebration in some way, but that celebration was a reflection of an inner satisfaction that showed itself.
That's like hectic.
It is.
I mean, these people come from Or yeah. They're like effectively your brother, technically speaking. Well, okay, not technically speaking, metaphorically speaking. They're your brother tribe, okay?
Yeah.
And here they are getting pummeled, destroyed, and you're just like, this is good. I'm enjoying watching this. Like, they deserve this almost. You know, I'm like, that's such a scary thought that they would have those thoughts. And yeah, I don't even know what to say, because imagine being either the Israelites watching your Edomite brothers just do nothing. They know, I know that they know that like we're in trouble. And then the Edomites, imagine them just like looking, not from afar, like, I mean, I don't know how close is close, but they're just watching you getting destroyed, and they're like, we're not going to do anything about this.
It's kind of like Zimbabwe. South Africa is in trouble, and Zimbabwe is aware.
Yeah.
They're close enough. I mean,
And they have the ability to help, but they don't.
yes. So that's basically what's happening here.